Right, off a bit of punch out boxing. Would you like to be here with Mick Francis, the #1 promoter in the Southern Hemisphere, maybe one day in the world, the way you're racking up these air miles?
Yeah, maybe. You never know. Long way to go yet, though.
All right, you've got off a 25-hour flight, then a long drive on Britain's motorways up to Suffolk, Ipswich, as I said on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Not as nice as the Ipswich you got in Queensland.
No. Oh, mate. On par.
Justis HUNI, this is it. This is why you signed the kid as
Absolutely.
a star young amateur. 5 years into his pro career, and it's Judgment Day.
Yeah.
He's going for the interim heavyweight title.
Yeah,
Tell
huge.
us how it came about.
Yeah, it's huge. Look, obviously I speak to Spencer Brown quite a bit. We're just going through opportunities moving forward, and just in the conversation, he said that Jarrell Miller looks like he might be taking the fight with for personal reasons against Fabio. And I said, mate, straight away, as I always do, I said, Justis HUNI will take that fight. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, mate, he'll take the fight. I said, these are the opportunities he looks for. And he goes, mate, just give me a couple of days and I'll come back to you. And here we are, 5 weeks notice, which, yeah, look, 5 weeks that's enough. Like, Justis was dabbling in the idea of biting on Jai's undercard anyway. So it's not like he was sitting around doing nothing, but he wasn't really, fully into training. And I think he's had 2 or 3 sparring sessions up to date, with 3.5 weeks out now. But look, if you don't take these opportunities when they come, you miss out. And in the heavyweight division, these opportunities like this do not come up too often. And when you have a think about the actual opportunity, as we talk about, that's the perfect opponent. It's the perfect title. Fighting in the UK, is getting paid. Like, there's so many reasons why to take this fight. And if you ever think about it, win, lose or draw, Justis HUNI wins, regardless. So this is a big step. This is obviously the toughest opponent that Justis has obviously faced, but he's totally up to it. I think he's a better boxer. Everyone talks about Fabio'S power, but he's got to be able to hit Justis. And I think if Justis, boxes smart and in the later rounds, and his fitness, he's got a new strength and conditioning coach now, and he's gone back to his more of an amateur sort of style. So, yeah, look, I can't see why Justis doesn't get his hand raised at the end of the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, got to take the opportunities. There's a queue a mile long. People waiting for the post-Usyk era to pick up all these belts. So you want to be at the front of the queue. When you were guiding Justis's career these last couple of years, did you always know that, you might have to take a short notice fight? There's a very high dropout rate in the modern era. Fighters pulling out and also having to come over to the UK simply because of the UK heavyweight scene. Did you have that in mind?
Yeah, of course. I think the heavyweight boxing right now is in the UK. I think that's where, if you want to make it in the heavyweights, this is where you got to come. You got to fight the best of the English fighters. Look, he's 26. He just turned 26, Justis. So he's got his man strength now. Like, if people go, oh yeah, they don't mature till they're in their 30s. Well, mate, Justis is ready now. As I said, he's 26. He has had a great amateur career. Everyone speaks about his amateur career, but now he's with the big boys, so those days are over. But he's 12-0. Like, if you ever think about the fights that Justis has had, you go through BoxRec, you add up the guys that he's fought, all the wins for and the wins against. I think it's like 150 wins for and 15 losses out of the 12 guys he's fought.
Yeah.
Mate, that's massive. And he's never fought a guy with more losses than wins. His very first fight, he fought for the Australian title over 10 rounds. He stopped Django in the 7th round, and people said that was a big thing for him to do, go straight into a 10-round fight against the existing Aussie champion, 3-time Aussie champion. So, he hasn't ever dodged any big fights, big opportunities. He's always, taken everything that we've said to him, never said no. And this fight was no different. But, we're not saying about the perfect storm. People don't understand behind the scenes and what Justis has been through. He's got a big motor. And, what's got him through these last in 9 fights is the big motor, because his first fight he had, he was fit, he was ready to fight. You know, a 10-round fight, he's prepared. He had no injuries, no previous fights. Obviously, it's his debut fight, and his first 3 fights he was healthy. And if you have a look at his record, stoppage, and then a fight goes the distance, he stops another guy in the 10th round, then it goes the distance, like it just doesn't add up. The reason that doesn't add up is because Justis has never been in the ring 100% healthy since his 3rd fight. He's always had an injury, or he's always been unfit, hadn't been able to train. Kevin Lorena, let's go back and talk about Kevin Lorena. Now, Kevin Lorena is a massive puncher. Don't forget he dropped Daniel Dubois 3 times in the 1st round, and he's got power. He can move. Like he was a cruiserweight, so he can move. He's got pop. It was a tough fight, and Justis went into that fight being favourite. Now, what little people know is the fact that Justis did not do any sparring going to that fight. He couldn't even hit the pads. He was actually hitting noodles, so he didn't hurt his hands. So he's gone into that fight completely underprepared. His weight was heavy. His fitness was terrible. His diet was terrible. There's so many reasons why he should not have won that fight. Yeah, he got rocked in the 10th round because he got lazy, he got sloppy. He's not going to do that this time, And we look at the Andrew Tabiti fight. Andrew Tabiti was 20-1. Like, this guy coming from a Mayweather gym, like he was no slouch either, and he was another guy that could move, can box, had power, got a good chin. Justis won, I think, 7 out of the 10 rounds in that fight. So, he's always taken on the toughest challenges he can possibly take on. He's never taken a backward step. And this particular fight, as I said, he's going to this fight 100% ready, prepared. Yeah, 5 weeks, that's not the worst thing that can happen to us. 5-week notice, that's so what, The beauty is that he's fit and he's be ready. And this particular night, there's no pressure on him. He's going to the Lions' Den. Like Fabio's got all the pressure on him. He's got 20-odd thousand screaming fans. Justis is probably going to have 3 or 4 guys there. You know what I mean? So all the pressure's on Fabio. And if Fabio doesn't perform, mate, you talk about mental health for these young men, mate, this is going to tear him apart. And it's terrible. So he's going to leave nothing, in that ring. But I think Justis will rise to the occasion. And mate, as I said in the press conference today, I couldn't be more proud of Justis and what he's done and what he's achieved, and where he's headed.
Absolutely. You mentioned there that you put Justis's name forward. Obviously, you're keeping your eye on the heavyweight scene. You know about Fabio Wardley. Is it because you've seen something in him, limitations, flaws? What was he so keen to get Justis in there?
Look, you don't get to 18-0 in the heavyweight division and be number 1 with the WBA and fight for an interim world title if you've got flaws. You've got to be able to obviously have a chin. You've got to be able to punch. You've got to be able to fight. You've got to be dedicated to your craft. So I don't see many flaws in Fabio at all. And mate, it's going to be a good fight. Like, styles make fights, and I think this particular fight, it's going to be a cracking fight. But I just think that Justis HUNI's just got that X factor. He always finds a way to win. Justis has never come across an opponent like Fabio, but Fabio has never come across an opponent like Justis. And that makes for a cracking fight. And, I think Justis is paying like $4.20 or something, 3-1. Like, I just think that's crazy. Like, it's a 50-50 fight. Yeah. So I just think that I think there's no flaws in Fabio. He's a good young man. Mate, good luck to him. Good luck to anyone in the heavyweight division, especially because you're one punch away of ending your career. So, look, we're pumped, and as I said, I couldn't be more proud of Justis.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting that you say about the odds there. The early sort of discussion amongst me and my fan media colleagues is, I think, HUNI can pull off an upset.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder, is what was said at the press conference, are they right in that maybe Fabio's best trait is his punching power? Maybe because of the visual effect of that last win against Clark.
Yeah.
dislocated his jaw. It looked like he had a stroke. It was a scary moment.
It was scary.
But is that why people are sort of so caught up on his punching power?
Yeah. Look, he's had 18 wins, 17 by knockout. So, as I said, and he has fought some classy fighters. The fight against Fraser Clark when it went the distance, like I thought that could have went a draw. Fraser could have won that fight. Like that fight could have went either way. I think Fraser just got caught the second time around. Like, he may have took it a little bit lightly. I don't know, but I thought, they talked about it. It's going to be, one of the fights of the year, that heavyweight fight. I actually found the fight quite boring. I think, after 3 or 4 rounds, I thought they were both sloppy. They both weren't fit. They were both laying all over each other, and it came down to who wanted the most. And maybe I probably wanted a little bit more, but look, as I said, I just feel as though that fight was an ugly fight, far from fight of the year. If Justis fought like that, I'd be very disappointed. Like, as I said, he's got a big motor and he always finds a way to win. So, I don't know, mate. If a fight goes like that after 3 or 4 rounds, I think then you'll see Justis's boxing IQ come out.
How do you rate Fabio amongst the tier of contenders? I mean, I think it's fair to say Usyk's way up there.
Absolutely.
Probably with Dubois. And then you've got this chasing pack. This is almost the opening shots of the next generation. The old guard are sort of one foot out or already out of the gate. Where would you rate Fabio amongst the next crop?
Yeah, look, he's definitely inside the top 5 or 6, 100%. I think he's ranked at the moment number 5 with the English heavyweights. So I think he deservedly is there. I think he's got a future. I don't know. He spoke today about he only wanted another year or 2 in boxing, so which is smart because you want to get out and make some money and be healthy. But yeah, look, I think that he's definitely if he wants to stick it out a couple of another 2 or 3 years, a lot of these guys are going to be vanishing from the sport, and it's all open. And is there a lot of depth coming through? You've got Moses, he's a great young athlete as well that's coming through. There's not a heap of depth right now, but we'll see him progress. But I remember when I was in the second, third row, and Daniel Dubois fought Miller over in Saudi, and straight after that fight, I said to Eddie, I said, mate, we'll take the Dubois fight. I saw things in Daniel that I think Justis outclasses him. A couple of months later, or 6 to 8 months later, he's a IBF world champion. And he has got power, and he got that lucky punch. But Daniel Dubois is definitely a fight that we wanted a year, 18 months ago. So that's what level. That's where Justis is at. And. I saw flaws there where I knew that Justis would win that fight. So if we ever get that opportunity to fight a guy like that, we'd take that with both hands as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice segue into the follow-on. How do you see Justis shaping up against the next crop of heavies? Presuming Usyk, this is his last hurrah, and then he's going to plough out. Maybe he'll have another big payday against one of the, AJ or whoever, but at the real championship level, obviously you believe in your man. How do you think he shapes up against the other upcomers?
Like right now, there's only so much tread on the tyre, and every time you take the car for a spin, you just keep wearing out a bit more tread. And these guys that are pushing 40 now, they've had their time, and good luck to them. But Justis is more hungry. Like even if Justis fought these guys now, like there's nobody in the world that we wouldn't fight. I go through BoxRec and I have a look myself and I go, mate, there's nobody here that we would say no to. No one. We'll fight any one of these guys. It'd be good if Justis had a few more fights under his belt as a pro, but it is what it is. So I think that Justis can take any of these guys on now and be successful. Fast forward 3 years when a lot of these guys are gone, Justis will be one of those guys that dominate the heavyweight division, and what a great time to be a part of the heavyweight division.
Oh, absolutely. I keep saying this, it's a golden era. It might not seem like it yet, but we're going to look back and, I mean, it's so worldwide now, isn't it? Fights from everywhere.
Look at Joe Parker. Joe's, what's Joe, 34? Yeah. 35, 34 years old now. Like Joe, he come on really strong, really fast, and then he sort of had a bit of a low. But he's changed his style, and he's gone back to what he knew, and he's got a new strength and conditioning coach, new dietitian, so he's completely changed as well. And I honestly think Joe will be around for another 3 or 4 years, and he's looked after himself. So for Justis and Jai and Joe Parker, the three of those guys down in the Southern Hemisphere flying the flag, I just think that boxing in our part of the world is in a very good place as well, especially the heavyweights. You see Jai will eventually go up to heavyweight as well. He just wants to get his unification fight, and once he gets that, he'll be up there as well. So he's going to be around for a few more years as well. So it's looking bright, the heavyweight division, especially in our part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.